Hello and welcome to the Game On Expert series. I am Jean Barry, your game inventor mentor, and I am bringing to you guests and speakers who are experts in their world and in their fields. So to help you grow your business, be better, and honestly have more fun. And so today we have the fabulous Amanda Fuel. Amanda is an award-winning speaker and keynote speaker coach. She is the founder of She Speaks, a group to empower women speakers, and a Biz West 40 Under 40 winner for her local leadership work. Her clients have spoken on stages across the world such as TEDx, Harvard, and Oxford University. I'm really excited to have Amanda here, and today we're going to be talking about gamifying your talk. Welcome, Amanda. So glad you're here. Woohoo!
I'm so glad to be here, Jean. Thank you. This is so fun to talk to your people.
Well, fabulous. And so if you're coming here live and you found yourself here popping up, go ahead and say hey. And there's a couple people saying, hi, Jean, I'm here. I found it. Yay! So glad you're here. Hi, Lois. So definitely pop that in there. And as we go along, feel free to make comments or ask questions, and we will reply live real time with them as well. So, so glad to be here and so glad to have you on today because, you know, I think that everyone ultimately is a speaker, right? Everyone is speaking all the time about something.
So true. So true, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit how you got into this? Like, how did this come about? How did you become a speaker coach? And
yeah, I can share a little bit. You know, I grew up kind of in a camp counselor role. My parents owned a child care center, so I just worked summers there taking care of kids. And, you know, it's easier to get kids to listen when you're just the tallest and the loudest voice in the room, you know. But I got to tell you, being the tallest and the loudest doesn't always work out there in the business world when you go to make an impact or give a message or have a business. And so I found myself learning, you know, how can I really garner respect out there in the world and make an impact with the messages that I most want, help my clients make an impact as well. I started out as a marketing coach and, you know, just wanted to play with words and help people really hone in on what their best words were to use. But I quickly realized that one of the best marketing techniques out there is speaking, especially if you're a heartfelt entrepreneur, because you get to share your message and make an impact along the path to getting clients. Like before you even get clients, you get to share and change people's lives. And so I found myself wanting to work more and more with speakers and having to learn speaker techniques.
Yeah, that's really awesome, and I can see that most people kind of ignore this piece of it in the world of kind of it in the when you start to talk about energy work and that kind of thing. There's a lot of talk about like shutting down your throat chakra because, you know, it's so frightening and scary to speak, and then this really cool little intersection that you and I found ourselves in, which is having more fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's the best, when you can show up and be yourself on a stage and actually have more fun along the way to doing business. You know, I want to do both. I'm a business person, but if I just only do business, all the life drains out of me and I just don't want to get up in the morning, you know? But if I can have fun, and for me that's interacting with people along the way, that is everything to me.
Well, and you know, I think plenty of us have had the experience where we've been listening to a speaker or something like that, and we're just like, like it's not that great. What are some of the problems that show up with people who use kind of traditional speaker training or kind of techniques, right, for speaking?
I think this is the whole problem personally with why people are so afraid to be on a public stage or to be a public speaker, why public speaking is the number one fear. I think what has happened with speaker techniques in the past is that, honestly, they're just a bunch of list of shoulds. We already have enough shoulds in our normal life. Why do we want to go on stage where there's more shoulds, more supposed tos, more eyes criticizing us? That's the old school mentality of techniques, is that there's one way to be a polished professional speaker, and you must, if you have 3 tips for people, you must hold up the number 3. You must, sort of be this robotic speaker that has no ums and ahs. No, there's no room for little imperfections. Just say what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. And it's this sort of flattening of the experience of actual human interaction. And that's sort of what I found as I started to learn speaker techniques, is the more I memorized, the more I polished, the more I practiced, the less excited I was to actually give my talk, because it felt flat and canned. Even if I was practicing like large gestures, they still felt flat because they were lifeless and they were not in the moment, And so this is what we see with old school techniques, is a lot of them, not all, there's some golden oldies, but a lot of them are actually taking the wind out of your sails and not letting you be a real human up on stage. And wanting you to be that robot speaker.
Absolutely. So I just typed in the little chat for anyone who may be watching this now or later, is, do you have a fear of public speaking? Like, is this a deal? Like, for you, like, no, right? And so I'm kind of curious, of those who are in the space, is that something that you're like, oh yeah, that's just never going to happen, or I want to, but I'm so afraid, or I get up there and I'm so nervous that I can't make it happen? So definitely share your feedback on that. And then here's what I really want to know then. This is the crux of everything we're going to talk about, right? How can public speaking and fun actually go together in the same sentence? Like,
yeah, that's it, right? How do we make this formerly best case scenario boring, right? Worst case scenario, it's like terrifying.
Or publicly humiliating, right?
I guess that would be bad too. But worst case, we get it all practiced. Best case, we get it all practiced and polished, and we max out at boring. That's the old way to think of public speaking. Okay, what I would like to introduce to, especially your world of coaches, Jean, we all have seen the difference between old school telling people what to do, old school coaching, right? And we've now entered an era of transformational coaching, which is having these sort of irrevocable moments where the client just cannot see their world the same ever again. And this new era of transformational coaching, I believe, is when coaching went from, oh yeah, that weirdo fringe concept, to, this like incredible, now every executive has a coach, right? Everyone who's wanting to be good at what they do, they get it. Transformational coaching is where it's at. And that's what I want to bring to speaking, transformational speaking, where you're actually being a real human up there on the stage, faults and all, because you don't want to get up on the stage and like appear as this like angelic perfection, weird species that never says an or an and never, has an oops or a tech difficulty or anything, because then the audience will not think that they can do what you have done. You want to show up as real as you possibly can with all of your I've been there stories, to show the audience that no matter how bad you think it is for you right now, I've probably been there and maybe worse. That's what we want.
That's beautiful. Well, And it comes to this thing then of the natural fun that exudes from us when we're relaxed. Like
That's
relax.
relax. That's the first word I have people just try on. Try on if you can feel yourself just relax a little bit on stage. Not even worrying about what you're saying, but relax. The word be yourself comes up, And so once that starts to happen, once we start to give you a few techniques to get out of your head, calm down into your body, relax, get out of your self-consciousness, the fun place to go is the audience. Let's take your speech off the stage. I know, I'm a speaker's coach who said take your speech off the stage. Let's bring it into the audience. Play a game with them of some kind during your talk. Let them engage with your material, not just in their heads either. Get them up, get them moving around. You'll know they're not bored because they're up and they're engaging. And you'll just get them to actually get a taste of your results right then and there. Possibly even have one of those transformational moments that you're trying to create and leave changed. Now, I don't know about you as a coach, but to me, that's the most fun I can have is when I can impact somebody's life that day and leave them changed.
Well, that's really cool. And so on kind of the bottom line side, how do you see this kind of gamification being real? Impacting your credibility or professionalism, actually. That's the one that kind of gets us perfectionists. And the bottom line, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's another sort of mindset shift is instead of feeling like you're on display and getting critiqued and graded by all the audience members, when you take it into the audience and you start to play with them and have them enjoy themselves a little bit, you're actually taking eyes off of you in some way, right? They're no longer concerned about how good of a speaker you are and whether you just told this story or used this word wrong or something like that. They're actually looking at your topic, whatever you're trying to get them to look at. They're looking inside themselves and engaging with your material that way. So now their eyes are on themselves. They're thinking, what can I get out of this? Where do I want to go with this transformation that's being offered here? And so it definitely takes your the level of them critiquing you down a few notches. And what I have found is that people stop seeing me exactly as a speaker. They start saying things like, I've gotten this comment a lot, you're not just here to talk a bunch of fluff, you're the real deal. Right? And I get why they say that because I'm actually coaching and trying to get them a result in the moment. I'm using that time very efficiently to start the transformation right now, not just tell them about the transformation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's really powerful. And I think that it almost feels like just a little tweak, right? It feels like, sitting in their shoes as opposed to being so concerned about what's going on here. And so I'm wondering if you're watching, what questions that you have for Amanda about speaking maybe in general or about specifically this. Well, how do I be more of myself? Or how do you do that? How do you make that show through? And, I think it's really fascinating to, trying to get my thing to post here. There we go. And it's this really awesome intersection of authenticity, being you, and speaking from your heart, as well as preparation, and being somewhat strategic. And this is the piece where I actually really dig talking about gamification, because gamification is actually strategic. Because games by nature have a strategy to them to win. Like if you're gonna win the game, you need to follow the strategy. And some games are simple and some are much more complex. And so inside of this cool arena of gamification, so what do you think the strategy is then of gamification? You know, I think it's about all those things, right? It's about professionalism. It's about sharing your heart and your transformation. It's about taking all your values and displaying them.
Yeah. And when you show up as a real human, foibles and all, and you're willing to be vulnerable and go there, but you've also done your work to prepare, like you're saying, I'm not going to waste their time. Okay, I'm definitely going to be clear about my message. I'm going to have real meat and potatoes to say. I'm not going to fill it with fluff. So now when I'm doing both, I've got my humanity and my brilliance. Now that's what they want to see because they know they're human and they think they're probably brilliant, right? So if they see you being able to be both and be successful and respected up there on the stage, they do it. You are their model. They say, great, I can do that. I can be both, all my faults and humanity and my brilliance. And they get up there and do it. I love that part of gamification and really having your audience fully engaged.
Okay, so can we play a game?
Yes, I would love to test this right now.
Ooh.
And just see if gamification is something that's up for you. I mean, you're part of Jean's community, so probably it is, right? But this is a test you could even use on your clients if you wanted to just see if they're a gamification type of person or not. I mean, it's not for everybody. Some people are really serious or, I don't know, it doesn't work for them. But I've found for the majority of people, they like fun, Okay, so this is one of my most basic games, but it really did change my life. Okay, so let's see. I won't tell the story of it just yet. I'll set the game up. So think of something in your life that just is feeling really difficult right now. It's just a relationship, a money issue. I mean, my basement just flooded. We're going round and round with my landlords. A health issue, something that is feeling very difficult in this moment. Okay. Now, I would like to invite you to play the game of every time today that you think about that issue, instead of going down the track of thinking about the details of the issue, you sort of step back and you just pop in the question, what if it's easy? What if this is easy? What if it turns out to be the easiest solution I've ever had to anything, any problem ever? Okay? That's the whole game today. Play with that question and see how it changes your other thoughts and actions. All right? So the story behind this game, it comes from a money difficulty that I was having where I had a medical bill come due. They'd been chasing me for years. Like I just had moved and I hadn't kept up with this medical bill, and they said, this is the final day. And it was it wasn't. It was 5 weeks away that the bill was due. And I pouted for the first 2 weeks, thinking it was very difficult. And then I called a friend. Just happened to call her for something else, and we started talking, how's life? And I revealed to her that I have this medical bill hanging over me. It's now 22 days away, and it was $2,200. This was in my first year of business, and $2,200 was like pretty much the maximum I had ever made in a month. So now I had 22 days to essentially double my income for the month. What she said to me, it's $2,200 in 22 days? That sounds like a game. That sounds like the universe has assigned you a game, and we need to use our tools on this. So I was rolling my eyes. I mean, I was just like, come on, lady. I was just really stuck in the muck, you know. She noticed it and she said, just for today, I want you to apply the phrase, what if this is easy? What if it turns out to be easy that you make the 2,200 in 22 days? And I, was still upset, but I'm a very good student, Jean. And I do what I'm told. So I just did it. I just played. I didn't plan on any outcome. I didn't think through, oh, this is my path to getting there, or anything like that. I just played. And I started to say, what if 2,200 is easy? And it started to lead me to other thoughts of like, well, I guess it's easy for some people. For some people, 2,200 is not difficult. Maybe that could be me someday. No, it can't. Back to, So I'd sort of go in and out of, what if it's easy, but it's not? What if it's easy, but it's not? What if it's easy? Maybe it is. I kind of unroll throughout the day. And I did end up 22 days later plunking down a stack of $100 bills and paying that medical bill, because we continued to play with my thoughts about that issue for those whole 22 days. But I love this game just for you guys for a day, and you might even see how it's unfolding for you right now, to think about a difficult problem and ask, what if it's easy?
That is definitely one of my favorite games. I do love that, and especially when in the throes of like the upset, like in the throes of it, and then they like, wait, what if it's easy? And I sometimes like to add, what if it's easy and fun?
Yes. Oh, well, see, your people in your community, they know what fun is. You guys get fun. So definitely add that. What if it's easy? What if it's fun?
That's great. Really amazing. And, I've seen people from stage do really physical games also, where they've actually distributed things among the audience to interact with. And I've seen people create life-size games that they can play from stage, which I always think is a blast.
That's fun. Like, what have you seen?
Well, I was at the National Speakers Association, and they had outside, they had life-size versions of things like Connect 4 and Jenga, and so some physical games like that they had outside on the patio for people to play, so they could meet others, I guess, interact.
I tell you what, just getting the audience up out of their seats for more reason than just a stretch break, or hey, we're gonna remember we all have legs, let's stand up and give a high five. Those are step one of audience engagement, right? But to get them out of their seats and actually processing through some emotions or some information can make all the difference. I was just at a retreat in April where I was one of 3 or 4 speakers there, and all the other speakers, their message happened to be the audience was sitting down, and I made such an impression just because my game forced us to be standing up and go outside a little bit and do some partner work, just because it was different. I made that impression. And I know that, and I heard from the audience that the transformation just goes a little deeper when you're not sitting, right? You're engaging with your whole body, and so it gets into that subconscious level a little bit better.
I did find one time some huge dice that we played from the stage, so we could roll the dice on the stage.
That's so fun. Yeah, totally that's fun. So fun. Well, here's another game, especially for your group that already might have a game up their sleeve. I mean, maybe you helped them with a game, right? And they have this game that they play. Here's another game that's made quite an impression over the years, is whenever I lay out a game, especially if it's one that I know is going to cause a little bit of frustration, right? Because some games are meant to cause a little bit of discomfort or frustration, or the mind's going to have to work. Okay, so Some of my games I know are triggering like this. Once I lay them out, I say, hey, don't forget to play your second game, which is, how am I approaching this game? What am I bringing to the first game? Am I bringing, the eye roll and the shrug and kind of would rather be checking my phone? Am I bringing, I'm going to check out and let everybody else play, and I'm just going to be the onlooker, the bystander today? Am I bringing like, we got to win, we got to beat all these other groups, we got to go, let's go, what's the right answer? What can I notice about myself that I'm bringing to this game that I may be bringing to other topics in my life or just life in general? Do I want to be right? Do I want to be liked? Am I holding back my leadership a bit because I want to be nice? And that is often such a cool breakthrough for people when you have them share about their second game. They just go, wow, I saw my pattern so clearly, because everything I'm doing with this game is everything I'm doing with my daughter right now, or my business right now. And if I can just switch that up, I can totally change the outcome of my strategies, in my real life. Oh, speaking of imperfections, look at this nice little poof of my hair here. Gee,
I thought
that's
it was
not
with
intentional.
the earphones, but like we kind of just got an extra poof. That works for me.
Okay, good.
It's all good.
How does that hit you, the second game idea?
I really like this idea of kind of like the flip side, right? What's the flip side of the card? Or, if we turn it over, what does that look like on the other side? And how do we really dig deeper inside of that? And I think that a lot of the people that we work with are this, like we're going to shift our lives because we are being mindful, because we are noticing, because we are becoming aware. And so these kind of games of powerful questions at the right time can really shift someone profoundly.
They really can. They do really create those sort of moments of awareness where, again, you just can't go backwards on that. Once I see my pattern, for one, it's game over for that pattern. I will be, addressing it. But for two, I just can't go back and blame something else for my, result or my troubles, right? I saw it. It's too late. I saw it. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do something differently in this area. And now I go forward with that, and it doesn't snap back when I leave the room. It's too late. And so now, if you give your audience that kind of moment, that kind of awareness, it's associated with you forever. They know that you are someone who can get them a result, and possibly before you've even done any one-on-one work with them. So imagine the result if they do decide to do one-on-one work with you. They're just like, they're tied to you.
That's beautiful.
And I can't tell you how many clients I've gotten that talk to me about things we've talked about years ago. Remember that game we played? Remember that activity we did? That really shifted me, and I can't stop thinking about it. And it's been like 18 months or something, and I'm like, wow, that was huge.
Of course. And so in the end, of course, there's hundreds of ways to gamify your talk. Have you ever actually seen anyone who used like live polls? I've seen the software for it that, people can use their own cell phone to answer questions, and they can display the live poll results or answers to the questions live.
Oh yeah, that's so great. The text polls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I've really seen a lot of that virtually too, which is so fun. And even if you don't have the texting, I'll share this as a pro speaker tip. Even if you just poll the audience by having them raise their hand, it's your job as the speaker to sort of report back the percentage, right? A lot of speakers get into like, raise your hand if you, I don't know, have a business, right? And they'll go, oh, okay, because they're using it for their own information. This is another thing where really centering your audience's experience as the most important thing can help you to say, when 90% of the audience raises your hand, you say that. You say, okay, that looks like about 90%. Make sure you're reporting back to the audience, okay, that looks like about 40%. Because most of the audience cannot see the entire audience like you can. Except for maybe the back row, So making sure your audience, it's your audience's benefit that you're always focused on, can let you do some really low-tech polls.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that I've seen, and you actually alluded to, I had people stand up and even go outside. Like, depending on the size of the group, that can make an impact as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great way to differentiate yourself in a day-long speaker event or a conference where you're a speaker. Get your audience moving will immediately differentiate yourself, even if your game is not well rehearsed or practiced. Just the fact that you attempted something cool like that, some bigger motions like that are huge.
Yes, Steve says he used the polling that Zoom provides inside of a summit over the past weekend. So yeah, that's actually a cool feature. A lot of the software is coming up with a lot of cool online stuff as well. To do to gamify what you're.
Yeah, and Zoom, another great feature that helps with games a lot is the breakout rooms. You can section people off into groups of 2 or 4 and have them play a little game together. It makes your talk really flexible so it can handle any number, because if it gets to a certain number, you just breakout room. So I find that this gamification thing really does apply to virtual. I was hesitant at first. I'm like, well, how can you really say you're playing games if it's just virtual? But I have found it. In fact, I'm running my prosperity group right now. That's 22 weeks of 22 games, and we play every Monday.
So that 22 is a magic number for you, I take it.
It is, but it really did come from that story I shared. It came from the 2,222 days. Since then, it's been just this magical number. Did you know, Jean, that it takes 22 seconds for your blood to go from your heart to your extremities, and 22 seconds for it to come back?
I did not know that.
I'm just saying.
Out and back makes total sense. That's beautiful. So, Amanda.
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of you or know more about how to work with you, or what you got?
I would love that. I do have a new program coming up just for transformational speakers. Probably this is for somebody who's not their first time on a stage or doesn't have major fear around it. We do address nerves, because I find at every level, especially if you're playing your edge and always going on to bigger stages like the TEDx and Harvard and all that, you're always going to have another level of, sort of intimidation factor. And we totally have tools to get you. I don't even call it getting over your nerves. I actually call it coming under your nerves. Letting them fly away and coming down into your body, into your humanity, and getting underneath your nerves. So we have tools for that, but it's probably more for the intermediate or advanced speaker who's really ready to take their speech off the stage. That's my newest program coming up. So you can go to nextlevelfuel.com, and I think the page is called Level Up. And that's where you can find some details to my program. But, whether or not you're interested in a program right now or coaching right now around this specific thing, I would love to connect to you just to see what you're up to, and maybe even invite you to speak in one of my programs or things like that one day. I'm really love to connect with people doing cool stuff in the world. So if you just want to have a coffee chat, that's great too.
Okay, well, let's just take another minute to talk about next level games.
Okay.
Because I think this is really interesting of people, and indicative of the people who usually show up inside of my world of community, is that they're up to something, right? They're up to something big, and they're ready to shift into the next thing. They're doing really cool transformative work, and they are on the edge. Like they do live on the edge of their expectation, of their excitement, like those kind of things. And in terms of a game inside of our businesses, when we are being the artist on the edge, when we are being the speaker who speaks truth, when we are being that person, what would be your like insider tip for staying on the edge, for being supported on the edge, for taking it next level?
Ooh, gosh. I have two things that come to mind here, and I hope this is what you're asking for, Jean. One of them is a mindset shift that's helped me so much, and one of them is a very physical thing to do. So I'll tell you the mindset. You want to hear both? Like, is there time for both?
Yeah, of course we do.
Okay, great. Let's do both. Okay, so the mindset shift is that I had somebody say to me once, you're always only going to be at 10% of your potential. It's just like, just give up the 100%, because you can see your potential so much further than you're ever going to be able to do. And that's a good thing. That says you have just a ton of potential, and you're just going to be kind of keep playing your edge to live into it. And so that made me think of a horizon line. Is that horizon line, even as I move, I'm never going to get to the horizon. Never, ever. It's going to keep moving with me. But the thing that doesn't move is the shore behind me. If I measure from the shore, I am going to see my progress. So don't measure from the horizon line. Measure from the shore. Where have you been? What have you accomplished? What do you have now that would be just mind-blowingly awesome if you told yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago? You're living in heaven right now compared to what you thought that was. So measure from the shore. Don't measure from that horizon. That's been really great for my mindset.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And then the thing to do, and this is a technique to do on stage as well, but I find that I have to do it even when I'm going into an intimidating meeting, or like sometimes I just do it when I'm taking a risk here in my business. No one's even seeing it yet, but I know I'm about to take a big risk. The task is feel your feet. Feel your feet. You can stomp them a little bit on the ground. Feel your feet. Because when we are up in our heads, all of our attention is here, and it's kind of out of our heads, and it's in the future, and it's in what other people are going to think of us, what's going to happen, how will this be perceived, how will this change, how people see me. All of that stuff I like to call being in our heads. And as a creative, as a performer, even as a speaker, a message I've received a lot is you need to get out of your head. But nobody ever told me where to go. Like, okay, thanks, but what does that mean? Where do I go? And the answer that I've learned over the years is the answer is your body. Take that attention and feel something that is real and solid and safe right now. By tapping your feet on the floor, by feeling your feet, like the sensations in your feet, you're sort of signaling to your body that you are not just this tiny little head. You are actually this whole big person, human, and you are safe because your feet are on solid ground right now. And just that can signal to your brain that you're okay and you're going to be okay as long as you can stay big, and not get this idea that you're, so small and you're just all these little thoughts of self-consciousness. Yeah.
That's really amazing. I really love that grounding practice and the presence that it takes in that moment to say, okay, get in my feet. Notice your right toe, right?
Yeah. And it will become more and more automatic as you practice it. At the beginning, I had to fully shut off my brain, and the only thing I could do was feel my feet. I had to focus on it so much, but over the years, I can focus on my feet and look at you. I can focus on my feet and speak. And that's sort of the bothness that we're going for.
Beautiful.
It's grounded.
Beautiful. So Steve mentioned that he had a certified yoga instructor on his last event, laughter yoga, which really lifted up a lot, like it was a nice transition between things. So that's awesome. And I do love laughter yoga, and it is such a perfect match for most events. Like everyone should have laughter yoga there. Like that's
what better way to warm up an audience, to actually laugh at your jokes. So you kind of got to get that train started early on. Like, oh my gosh, that's great.
He was also saying he loved that analogy about measuring from the shore. So
good.
Sharing that. Now, Laura is asking, any hints for audience engagement when on a podcast and not having kind of that physical space?
I would say maybe similar to what we did here with What If It's Easy. If you can just prompt them to think about something in their own life, obviously on your topic, right? Think about your speaking, or think about your money game, or think about your business, and give them an actual moment to do so. That's also new and novel and different when you're on a podcast, to have a moment of not talking, right? Where it's the bouncing ball. It's like you've thrown the ball over into their court, and now you're going to give them a second with it. That signals people that it's time for you to think about you.
That's beautiful. It makes me think of like the old Jeopardy show, or when they probably still do the music. I haven't seen it in years, but do 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 while the people are writing, and we'd sit and watch the TV while they're watching because they're playing the music, right? It's the jingle on. I don't know why we watch the TV still while they were doing it. All they're doing is watching people write their answer. And
right.
It's one of those really fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say to them, I'm going to give you a moment to actually do this. And then you zip it, for 20 seconds or something. And people they like just blow on through it. Or if they want to engage, they will engage. They'll say, okay, well, what is that? And so you got to give them just a little longer than you think, a little longer than feels comfortable. But that's absolutely how I would do it on a recording or a podcast. Play a game and allow them time to play it.
That's nice. Actually, I like that.
Another thing you can totally do is do a demo with the host, right? He can play your game. She can play your game. Or a demo with somebody who's there live. That works amazingly well. But all along the way, you're facilitating the rest of the audience while you're doing the demo with one. You're saying, now, we are using this example from Steve's life or Jennifer's life, but for everyone else, make sure you're thinking about what that is for you.
Right, and it makes me think of kind of like the old singing songs where, like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, and like you touch each spot. And so if you prompt people to do things as you're speaking, you say, okay, now touch your third eye, touch the top of your head. Like you can actually prompt people through their own healing work, through their own, like motions. And I kind of like that somatic thing as well.
Absolutely. I just had an awesome experience on a call about a week ago where this was for food cravings. And she had us take our food and scoop with our hands the feelings that we wanted to feel when eating that food and put them in our heart. And I rolled my eyes here I am. I love games. I love to interact. And she gives us an interaction. And I still have resistance. But again, I'm a good student, so I just did it anyway. And Jean, I mean, I had like the coolest experience. And this was recorded. She wasn't there, but she was doing a demo with somebody, and so I did it, and I got the coolest experience. I was like, of course, those feelings are not in the food. Those feelings are in me.
Right.
And so I had this cool breakthrough, and I'm forever grateful and connected to her because she did that. She had me experience it.
You know, years ago, I was in actually quite a bit of pain. I was driving on my way to the acupuncturist, and I popped, this is how long ago was it? I popped a cassette tape into my car. That's how long ago it was. It was a while ago. But it's still burned in my mind. And I was listening to a speaker, and she was talking about money. And she prompted us to think about our earliest money memory. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm driving, I'm in pain. I might as well think about something else, right? What's my earliest money memory? And she suggested that everything that, you know, I was complaining about in this moment was attached to my earliest money memory. And of course, it went through this whole long thing. It transformed me, transformed my life, transformed my kids' life, like this one prompt of, you know, me driving in the car, of that speaker asking that incredibly powerful question and then pausing. And letting me find it. You know, where is that? Where does that live? So
Yes.
really, really cool.
It is so cool. And you remember that years later, and you actually did transform your life because of that pause. It, you know, and some other things around it, but largely because she put it in your court to actually engage with.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, oh my gosh, Amanda, this has been absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that you were able to pop on with us today. And for those of you looking for Amanda, you're going to nextlevelfuel.com. It's up in the comments. I put it up there. I'll put it in the comments section below, also on Facebook and everywhere else you need to find it. So you can find it there as well. Any last words, Amanda?
Oh, man. Jean, you're a joy to work with. Thank you so much for engaging all of Jean's audience members and her community. This has been so fun, and it's just amazing to see the power of this word games that I think people think of as, you know, like, oh, that's fun and silly, you know, but this is a superpower. If you master the power of games, you know, we're going to take over the world for sure. So, yeah,
Beautiful.
I'd love to have you come along on this journey or just connect with me in whatever way you can. And I can't wait for more with you too, Jean.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Again, I am Jean Barry, your game inventor mentor. Thank you for joining us for a Game On Expert Interviews with Amanda Fuel. And we will see you next time.